Our next guest is locked in with the NFL, has been all the time. He's the reporter for the NFL Network, as well as the host of the Huddle and Flow podcast with my old friend Jim Trotter. Let's welcome to the show Mr. Steve Wyche. Steve, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good. Hey, Ryan, if you bump JB Smoove from being Rich's reporter, now that would be a GOAT move.
I think so.
Steve, fan of the show. I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. How you guys doing?
We're doing good, man. Thanks for spending some time with us today. Where are you at right now? Are you on a tour of the camps right now?
I'm in Atlanta. I was in Houston earlier this week for that was interesting to say the least. And I was in Atlanta.
How's Deshaun look at safety?
You know, can I clarify that real quick?
Sure.
People are making a big deal of this, and Ryan, you know this. You know, when teams are doing like special team work and you've got like 80% of the team doing special team drills,
right?
The quarterbacks and other people will go through a group and they'll do like blitz recognition or coverage recognition or RPO, kind of backside linebacker recognition. And the three other quarterbacks who aren't going through that will dress up. They'll put those little skull caps on their helmets along with like the long snappers and all that. And they'll go through those recognition drills. I've seen Aaron Rodgers do it. I've seen other quarterbacks do it. So people are saying Deshaun Watson's playing safety. That's what that is. It is as common as something I've seen for the past 10, 12 years covering the NFL.
It is.
That is not a big deal.
No, it definitely is. But it's in this day and age, Steve, where you post anything without any context, people are going to make what they want to make from it. It's just the world we live in. And it is. There's chaos in Houston. Don't get us wrong. There's chaos there. There's a new coach. They're exodusing talent from every which direction. Their franchise quarterback doesn't want to be there. He's got 22 assault allegations hanging over the top of him civilly. There's a criminal investigation going on. The NFL has yet to act on anything. I mean, they say they're actively looking to trade him, yet I don't know a team that would be willing to do something like that. So as you walked out of there had to be like a breath of fresh air when you walked into Atlanta and saw where they were trying to go moving forward.
Yeah, it's just real weird. I mean, address the Houston situation. I mean, first off, there are teams that apparently are engaging them in trade talks.
Wow.
You know, they're just probably, look, they're probably trying to protect themselves. Like, if we trade for him and we're willing to give up this type of compensation, we've got to have some conditions attached in case he is eventually suspended or something like that. And, maybe the Texans have said this isn't enough yet. But it's so weird because there is a feeling, talking to some folks, that if he's going to practice, let him play.
Right.
They're putting themselves in an odd box by letting him practice. They should have just said, why don't you stay away, stay in shape, but why don't you stay away until we figure some things out? But now by letting him be seen out there on the practice field and letting him take reps, individually and throwing the ball better than any other quarterbacks, I'm sure at some point the players are going to be like, okay, what are we going to do? Like, why is this guy taking reps from everybody else if he's not going to be here? And if he is taking these reps, then why aren't we playing him? So it's a weird dynamic that they've set themselves up with.
Yeah, it is. If the NFL hasn't made a decision and they're letting it go, if I'm the Houston Texans, I'm saying I don't care what you want. You give us the best chance to win, and you're not going to harm yourself by playing poorly. You're going to go out and play to the best of your ability because that's what Deshaun Watson is, and that's only going to prop up his trade value if and when all of this is dismissed or goes away or is adjudicated and in suspension or punishment is handed down. So it's incredibly interesting. Let's move on now to where you are right now in the Atlanta Falcons, because I find this to be a very interesting organization. They chose to move on from Julio Jones and try to help their cap number a little bit and do some different things on defense because that's where they're going to have to improve. Kyle Pitts was the draft pick taken early. They stuck with Matt Ryan. What are you seeing from this organization so far early in camp?
It's weird, Ryan, because Arthur Smith is a new head coach who comes over from Tennessee, and then Terry Fontenot is a new GM, comes over from the Saints. And I spoke to them both kind of about what is the plan,
right?
And the plan is to try to build a competitive roster to win as many games as they can with Matt Ryan because they still believe he's playing at a high level. But they want to have everything in place so when they eventually do make the transition, which is coming in a year or two, that new quarterback is insulated. They've got a ways to go. I mean, this roster still, their safeties are, Eric Harris and Deron Harmon, these guys, probably year to year. So they've got a bunch of year-to-year vets at a lot of positions to help out some of the young players. Their offensive line is completely in flux. They've got two positions, on left tackle and right guard. They're a lockdown. The other three positions are up for grabs. Without Julio Jones, you've got Calvin Ridley, who's a stud, Russell Gage, who's a pretty nice player, and then you've got like 10 guys fighting for 3 or 4 other wide receiver spots. Same at running back. And that's just the offense, for most of what I just said. So they've got a lot of holes to fill. They've got to figure out ways, again, to be competitive, but to also get some of these young players ready. Kyle Pitts looks like the real deal. Haven't seen him in pads in practice, but, when you see him without pads, it's like that's a special talent, so you get why he went 4. But, this is a team you just don't know. They could be really bad. They could be middle of the pack. Or they could catch some momentum at some point and win some ball games because they do have their quarterback.
We're talking with Steve Wyche, NFL Network reporter, co-host of the Huddle and Flow podcast. Everybody witnessed the entire offseason of the Green Bay nonsense and what ultimately took place. We heard from Aaron Rodgers for the first time publicly about everything for about – how long was it, Brockman? About 38 minutes was the
32 minutes.
32 minutes was this press conference where it was incredibly well articulated. I think it needed to be, and relatively transparent for everybody to see, even the organization that he is going to be playing for this year. What was your takeaway from Aaron Rodgers' comments and how this season will come to fruition for not only him but the Green Bay Packers as well?
Well, look, I mean, I think they're going to take another shot, and they're going to be good.
Yeah.
I mean, their offense is going to be good. I'm interested to see defensively if they're going to be as good because, even though we saw what happened in the playoff game against Tampa Bay, that was still a pretty good defense. I think they were top 10 in most major categories, and now they've got Joe Barry, who was the Rams linebackers coach, now taking over the defense. So we'll see. But when you go back to the press conference, I think this is it. This is the last year.
Right.
Because for him to spill tea like that, to basically say, look, if you're going to draft my successor and you're going to not do certain things with my contract, then let's go ahead and accelerate this process. So it sounds like he wants to give it a shot because all you've heard all along is that he loves his coaches, he loves his teammates. It's had to do with management. And I think he really spelled that out in that news conference. So I think they're going to go out there. He's going to give it, his best shot this year. And then he's going to say, go ahead and trade me. They're going to probably be working on a trade, to get him to wherever. And then, it's the Jordan Love era. So, but the interesting thing, is, Devontae Adams talking about, hey, I'm not giving you a hometown discount.
Mm-hmm.
So he may want to be out unless they franchise him. Other guys may be out. So, they really better start having a plan for the transition, not just a quarterback, but how they're going to handle their free agents and how they're going to get other players in there to replace them. Because, like as Aaron said, a lot of folks ain't flocking to Green Bay just to come to Green Bay. They were coming there to try to play with him because they knew they would have a shot to win a Super Bowl.
We're talking with Steve Wyche, NFL Network reporter. I want to get your response to the breaking news today. That's Tim Tebow catching a touchdown in Jacksonville from first-round pick Trevor Lawrence, by the way. We're excited about that over here on the Rich Eisen Show. Carson Wentz, right? The off-season transaction from Philadelphia, all the hoopla there, former MVP candidate, back with Frank Reich, looked the part in practice the last few days, and then we get news from Adam Schefter today around the foot injury. Now this, a foot injury early in camp wouldn't necessarily bring a lot of news, but it's Carson Wentz who has been, shall we say, injury prone throughout his career. Your takeaway from this news and the impact on this Indianapolis Colts team in that South Division? Well,
this is where at this point in training camp, you're like, okay, maybe it's a 2 or 3 day thing. Right, you're waiting to see. Now,
right.
If all of a sudden they come out and they say, like, oh, boy, I mean, this is a 2 or 3 month thing. Then you're like, oh, man, we better get some help. And we know one place they're not going to get a quarterback is Deshaun Watson because Houston will not trade him inside the division. But they're counting. Look, he is seen as the final piece, even though they're not going to ask him to put up the same types of numbers. They know he's got the potential, as Phillip Rivers did last year. He's got the potential to open up their offense a little bit and to do some things. I mean, all you're hearing is this team is Super Bowl ready. If Carson Wentz stays healthy and doesn't turn the ball over, they're going to be in it to win it. Well, so far, he's not healthy right now. So they just have to hope that it's a minor thing. It's a day, 2 days, 3 days, and that it's not chronic. Because I do think if he's healthy, from what we saw a couple years ago, if he gets his head back on right, he could be a fantastic player. And he's in the right type of environment. They got a great culture in Indianapolis. So I'm pulling for him. Again, but the durability thing is absolutely a legitimate concern.
It is, and it's incredibly disappointing. I expect for Carson as well as that Indianapolis Colts organization, because they were looking for some big things. Hopefully, it's a quick thing that can come back. Foot injuries are always difficult to diagnose and comprehend on how long that will be.
Steve, one more thing on Carson. Is he the quarterback who's under the most pressure this year?
Ooh. He's one of them. I mean, Tua, you got to look at Tua because, if he doesn't get it done, there's huge expectations on that team. And, last year, the injuries and everything else in COVID, he kind of got a flyer for his hot and cold performances. So I would say him, Daniel Jones.
I think it's Matthew Stafford. I think that trade, how big that trade was, how much that McVay is putting into that that bucket. I think there's a lot of pressure there for Matthew Stafford, because I've talked to a few people that don't necessarily think this changes the LA Rams.
Interesting.
And I've had to take a hard look at it. Matthew Stafford's going to have to be exceptional. I do believe.
And look, for as much as Jared Goff was a turnover machine last year, but historically Matthew Stafford, he gives that thing up now. He's a 13, 14 pick guy a year or two.
Yep.
But you know what? He'll push it downfield. He'll take chances, and that's what Sean McVay wants his offense to evolve into. Losing Cam Akers is a blow, but that's a nice call. I did not think of Matthew Stafford. That's a nice call. Well done.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I was a big fan of Jared Goff, and I liked the way he came back and played hurt in those playoff games, and they were a smug look from Aaron Rodgers, knowing he had a defense he had and a touchdown there from making that a game in the divisional playoff game. So, I don't know what it's going to look like in Detroit for Jared, but I do believe there's a lot of pressure on Matthew Stafford and Sean McVay and that team moving forward. We are speaking with Steve Wyche. Steve, thanks for taking time with us today. Enjoy the ATL. Hopefully I'll see you soon. Are you going to be in Canton?
I will be. I look forward to seeing you there, my man.
Yeah, I'll be there. I'll be there next week. So
taking JB Smooth's job, right? You're taking JB's kid.
Well, if I'm not doing that, maybe I can buy you a Coke or something like that. How about that?
Perfect. Sounds great.
All right, brother. Have a great trip up there and travel well. Enjoy the preseason and the camps. Thanks again.
Thanks, Steve.
You too. Take care.
Take care, Steve.
Steve Wyche from the NFL Network, co-host of the Huddle and Flow podcast with Jim Trotter.
Hey, you watched all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Watch more right here.